Hi, everybody. So I thought we could keep this informal if you have questions for me. I wasn't exactly sure what people wanted to know, but I thought what I would do is just start with, I can just share my story, kind of how I got to where I am today. Does that sound good with everyone?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. Well, I have spent the last, it's actually almost been 11 years with my own medical aesthetics company, and I'll tell you more about what that is. But prior to that, I was 10 years in the software industry, and then prior to that, 10 years as a certified public accountant, and got my accounting degree from ASU. So none of that fits together, right? But anyway, so I just tell you that my start was, my mother used to always say, you kids, I was one of 7 kids, we grew up in South Dakota. She used to say, you kids, stop running with empty heads, like stop being an empty head. Because I was so much more interested in having social time and social skills and that sort of thing, other than just, you know, having goals or doing well in school, things like that. So in addition to that advice, my mother used to say, do not marry a farmer. I grew up in South Dakota. She didn't want us girls marrying farmers because she said what we would do is bake cinnamon rolls, have kids hanging on our feet, and we'd get fat. She wanted us to really get out and grow. And so when I was a senior in high school, my parents retired. We moved to a mega city in South Dakota, which was 75,000 people. And so she just really thought, well, you know what, I need to get the kids out of here, need to get them to a college or a university or that sort of thing. And so, you know, that was a big thing. We left a town of 1,000 and went to 75,000. So instead of going to college, what I did was went to college for a little bit, met a boy with this car, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to drop out of school because I'm not really digging school. I was just really in my social aspect, right? Anyway, but my point to the whole thing was I wasn't really setting goals. I was kind of being an empty head. I was driving, you know, got married at 19 to this guy with his car, and I loved his car, and I didn't think he was too bad either. So, but the point was that I was kind of drifting through what I was going to do instead of creating what I was going to do and what a difference that would make. So, you know, what I really realized is whether you choose it or you don't choose it, either way it's a choice, because you're just going to fall right into something else. So, so one of the things, Justin was saying that you guys talk a lot about leadership and that sort of thing. John Maxwell's book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, talks about how critical it is when you guys go into your careers, when you have businesses, the influence that you have from other people. So Justin, you were talking about, do you have a group of houses in a cul-de-sac, and it's kind of an entrepreneurial thing?
Yes, exactly. The startup village.
Yeah, startup village. So think of the influences that you're getting. So like where I was talking about my parents and how they influenced me, all these people influence you, and you're going to be surprised when you're looking for opportunities to be an entrepreneur, how much stuff is right in front of you. And when you start to see it, when you're around people that help you to see it, when you have people that have faith in you and they want to grow and you want to grow. Like when I came up, I think some of my success could have happened because I had my social friends, but then I always had friends that were about 20 years older than me, that they saw things different. They saw things I couldn't see. And it was just really great because that whole thing of your center of influence is huge. So, you know, the facts show that you'll make about 10%, within 10% of all your friends, because that's what you measure things by, right? Gosh, if you make that or you work there, then I could do that. But you have to get your circle of influence bigger and broader and things like that so that they'll influence you into thinking you can do so much more. How'd that get in there? That's my dog Cricket. I thought I'd throw that in there. So anyway, what I did, I went from being an empty head to, I ended up at ASU. It's so funny, going back to how I drift around, I ended up here on vacation. I was like, wow, the weather's fantastic. Like, somebody go get my suitcase and let's just stay down here. So that's what I did pretty much. But then I happened to find out that ASU is one of the top accounting schools in the nation at that time. My brother was a CPA, so circle of influence. He was influencing me to get into accounting. I got into accounting, got my CPA license, went to work for one of the big 4 accounting firms, and did well there. And then I decided I want to get out. I want to go be a CFO or a controller. So I got a job at Mission Foods. You guys know the tortilla company that makes all the tortillas? I wasn't in that job 6 months, and they decided they were going to consolidate all of accounting to Los Angeles. So I went back to the public accounting firm and I said, who do you know? Do you know another company looking for a controller? I was quickly trying to find something else. So I ended up interviewing at this company. They had 12 people. And here I was. I thought I was such a hot shot by then. I'd been in public accounting, wearing my little business suits and all that. And I walk into this company to interview. There's 12 people there. And the guy walks up. He's got swimming trunks on and flip-flops. And he puts his foot up to shake my hand. And I'm like, oh my God, we're in a software company. And I'm like thinking, these engineers, I'm not going to go to work with these engineers. I work too hard to get to where I'm at. So, you know, the thing is, I couldn't see. It was a blind spot for me. But I interviewed. They offered the job. I was going as a controller. They offer the job. I say no. Then the partner at the public accounting firm says, no, you got to go back, Trish. You have to go back and check this out. You're going to miss something here because there's something called the internet that's coming, and everybody thinks it's going to be big. Okay, so that's true. It just hadn't come out yet, but it was on the verge. It was 6 months before I got there. So I still said no, and then I kept getting pushed back, and I finally said, fine, I'll take the job. I was so devastated. I'm like, I'm killing my career. But I guess my point on that is when you have things happen to you as you go through your lives, as you take jobs, always know that you'll have blind spots, that you can't always see everything. Know that those opportunities may just take you on a road to something else. Because I couldn't see it at the time, but with that company, so there's 12 employees, we ended up 10 years later, I ended up as the CEO of that company, and we sold the company for $88 million. Who would have guessed? I didn't know I wanted to have my own company. I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know any of that. In fact, the founder of that company kept saying to me, Trish, you're such an accountant. And I'd go, I know, isn't that great? But she meant I wasn't like thinking outside the box. She's like, come on. I'm like, Joanne, stop spending. I kept wanting her to stop spending. We were spending faster than we could keep up with the bills and things like that. But that was the entrepreneur in her, and she just so, over the years, instilled that in me. And so to this day, I always say that is my MBA. That was what really got me going. It got me on the entrepreneurial track. And so when we sold the company, I had to work out a year contract, which is great. And they wanted me to stay. So they said, you know, I didn't get to be the president anymore, but I was an executive VP. And so they wanted me to stay, and I said, no, I got to go do my own thing. Even if I'm living in a trailer park and doing facials for people or something, because I lost all my money, I got to do it. I just really have to go do my own thing. So you were asking me, how did I get into healthcare? Well, I just said health and fitness was very interesting to me. But I looked at everything. I looked at oil machine shops. I looked at everything. I was just a business person looking for opportunity at that point. And now that I have my company, I mean, I don't know that you could really categorize me as mid-size, but I'm about a $7 million company in revenue and growing. So I have very ambitious goals that, you know, I want to keep adding more locations and that kind of thing. So one of the things, when I was working at that software company, I was making high six-figure income. So, of course, who wants to quit that, right? And so one of the things that kept coming up for this year that I had to work the contract out at the software company, I'm looking and I can't find anything and I don't know, but I feel this huge calling to go do my own thing. And then I'm on a plane and I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'm reading an Oprah magazine, and there's like an online seminar that you can take. So it was all on creating your future and doing what you want to do. So I got to my hotel room, I dialed it all up, took me 6 hours to get through it. And one of the things that came up out of this thing was this exercise that said, it really said that go in and say, in a situation where you feel powerless, I was feeling powerless in getting my own company, go in and say, I can't do this because I have to do that. It's because we make excuses for why we don't do things, right? So I said, okay, I can't have my own business because I really want the income, right? And so then it says, well, rewrite that statement and reword it to choose. And I rewrote it to say, I choose not to start my own business because I choose to have the income instead. I didn't care about the business, I said. And then I did the seminar, and it was enlightening and all that, and I went home, and lo and behold, within a month, I had the category figured out of where I was going. I was going to go into anti-aging. I knew what I was going to do, and then 2 weeks later, I quit that job and I was gone. And that's how powerful it can be when you think about, all you have to do is say, I choose. So you could think of things here with you guys, like, I choose to have really good grades, but I can't. Well, I guess the thing would be, I can't have really good grades because I have to work full time while I go to school. That might be an example. And then you turn it around to say, I choose to work and not have huge student loans at the end, and so therefore my grades might not be straight A's or something like that. Does that make sense? Yes. You make it your choice. So that was just so powerful for me. So I printed off, I use these forms all the time. I printed off some of these forms if you guys want to pass some of those around and fill those out. I get this form out every time I have anything like personal I feel I'm stuck on, or if I'm stuck at work, or I just can't get through a situation. I'll stop and go through this and then say, what am I really choosing to do here? So if you guys want to take a minute, does anybody have anything you might want to take a few minutes and think about that, and then maybe somebody wants to share something? You guys are like, oh boy, more homework, thanks. You guys have examples?
Should I read it first?
Yeah, you want to read it? Go ahead. Here, read it out loud.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to read out loud the form. Create your own future. Exercising owning your future. The power of intention multiplies when you realize you are responsible for creating your own life. Are you taking responsibility for your intentions, thoughts, actions, and decisions? You may not be able to control everything in your life, but you can take responsibility for those things that are within your power to change. You can recognize that you're not taking full responsibility when you find yourself using phrases like, I can, and I have to, when they aren't literally true. For instance, I can't go to the party. I have to visit my in-law that day. Or I can't just tell her the truth. I have to make her feel good. In fact, you probably know that the things you can do may actually be possible. And the things you have to do are things you may be choosing to avoid, but some level. You really believe that you are saying that you are powerless to choose whether you can go to a party or your in-law's house, or to tell the truth instead of lying to make someone feel good. What happens when you exchange I can and I have to into purposeful, responsible choices when you say, I won't be attending the party because I agreed to see my in-laws, or I'm choosing not to tell her the truth because I want to avoid hurting her feelings. you reclaim both responsibility and your power. Make choices on purpose and take responsibility. Try this.
Yep. So does anybody have ideas, things that you've thought about that you feel like you're powerless, like I just can't do anything about it, but maybe you're choosing?
You already said the grades one.
Yeah, so the grades one was a good example. Yeah. I can think of one. I have a lot of doctors that work for me, and I'm having a hard time with turnover. So I'll hire them, I'll get them all trained, and then they'll leave. And so it just drives me crazy. So I'm always like, I was just working on that this morning. I was thinking, okay, what am I doing that I say I can't because I have to? I can't retain doctors because in order to retain them, I would have to give them ownership. So that might be one. And I could turn that around and say, you know what? I choose not to retain them past 4 or 5 years because I'm choosing not to give them ownership. I don't, I feel like that's what I need to do. So I just wrote it, and it's kind of amazing because all of a sudden your subconscious flips over and you realize that that's my choice. So that's okay. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe something will come as a result of that, but you'll be surprised. Anything in your life, your personal life, ideas for business, anything that you might have, I would just try that. And I do it all the time. That was 12 years ago that I first did that. Anybody else want to share anything?
I have one.
Okay.
I think one thing for me is that I don't, how did you word this? Yeah. I feel I can't get in front of important people because I have to be a perfectionist when I talk to them. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I really struggle with. So
what's your choice? Make it your choice now.
So my choice would be to, I choose not to get in front of people so that I can become a perfectionist. I don't know if that's the right
or maybe
word.
you are choosing not to get in front of people because you're afraid. You're fearful that you're not going to be good enough, that it's not perfect. But you're choosing to do that, right?
Right.
Now it's a powerful choice. It's your choice.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get that, and writing it down also makes a difference, speaking it out loud, writing it down, language makes such a difference. When you do that, all of a sudden it's gonna dawn on you that, oh, I'm stopping myself. And it's all because I have this fear that I might not be good enough or it's not perfect, right?
Right.
So then it just becomes really, really powerful for you because all of a sudden, well, that's your choice. Nobody's doing it except for you, right? And that's the way I was. I just realized I wasn't getting a business. No matter, what I looked at, I was looking at all kinds of businesses for sale and all sorts of things, but I wasn't doing anything. And then when I realized, oh, it was my choice, I was just so afraid to leave that other job because I was going to leave this huge paying position. And it was really kind of a powerful position. I knew bankers and lawyers, and I had all these connections. And, when you go start your own business, you start from zero again, like you have nothing, right? When I started my business, I thought, well, yep, all my equipment's going to get financed and all that. And nope, they didn't finance a thing. Banks wouldn't finance me because I had no medical background. So then I was like, oh my God, I'm a nobody again. I have to climb back up that ladder again. So anyway, once I got it, then it was like, oh, nope, I changed my mind. If I end up, just like I said, if I'm living in a trailer park and I have to do facials for people in order to pay my rent, I just said, come hell or high water, I'm going to have my own business. That was just that important to me. So the end result of what I got, I was really interested in anti-aging. I'm such a business person. So in addition to, I want to make a difference in people's lives, I really wanted to make money. And I wanted to drive it that way. So my philosophy at Derma Health is beauty starts from the inside out. Starts from what we eat, and that's what makes beautiful skin. So I can treat the skin all day long with Botox and facial fillers and lasers and do laser hair removal. I could do all that. But if you want really beautiful skin, all you really have to do is eat right. And that's the whole philosophy. So the underlying mission, because everyone knows if you just have a business that only just is there to make money, all your employees aren't as interested to participate in that. And you have to have a mission. You have to have some underlying thing, like Apple. Apple's all about innovation. That's their mission, to be different and innovative. So mine is to uplift the spirit, inspire the mind, and encourage women to be the best they can be. So because of that, my business is all women. That's all that works there. And we see 98% women in the clinics. And so I take special effort to not just educate people about health, but I also take my employees and we do things like this. We do lunch and learns. I teach them business. I teach them all sorts of things that they normally wouldn't know. A lot of times they're like, really, do I have to go? Do I have to know all that? So anyway, now we have 5 medical aesthetic clinics, and we're still, we're growing. Now we are the #1 provider of Botox and facial fillers in the nation. We've been on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America for 3 years, and we launched a successful skincare company out of this. Did you guys, my sister was here like 3 weeks ago at this lunch speaking. Do you guys remember Lisa SkinScript?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my sister. So it was so funny because she also graduated from ASU, and she was also an accountant and a CIS dual major, working for the big accounting firms. And when I started this, I go, Lisa, is there any chance you might go with me? And oh my God, she practically ran out of her office. She's like, yes, but I'm gonna go get my aesthetic license first. So she went and got her aesthetics license, and then 2 years later, she's working for me, and she decides she's gonna start a skincare line. And lo and behold, I don't know if you guys know, Chandler has one of the biggest manufacturers of skincare and hair products and all that stuff in the nation is right here. And anyway, so you guys probably heard her story. She's got a really fabulous, amazing national business right now out of that. So it goes back to look for opportunities and just, there's so many things out there as you guys start your careers and get started. And, when I was your age, I probably couldn't have seen it. It took me a while to figure that out. This is just one of my clinics. This would be the lobby of one of my clinics and some of my staff members. We make it fun. So the question really is, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? And that's what you'll want to be thinking about. And when you're thinking, gosh, I really want to do that, but I'm so scared, go do that exercise that, I got out of that Oprah exercise, and determine what's holding you back. Okay? So takeaways, create your future. Don't just take what comes your way, like I was doing early on. Managing who is influencing you in your life, who your friends are, your business acquaintances. This is my philosophy, learn business first. I don't know that I could have done what I did if I didn't go out and work for somebody for a while. I think I would have just thrown up my hands, given up, got scared, I don't know. I think there's benefit in that. And I've talked to a lot of people at ASU, instructors and things in the entrepreneurship program, and they're like, Trish, no, they're young, let them go. If they're being innovative, let them go. So that's just my philosophy. But I want to win, right? So I want my business to go, and I want it to be really great. So I want to make sure I got good background for what it takes to get there. And then just keep going on education. Once you leave ASU, don't stop. I got a coach when I was about 15 years into business, when I could afford it a little bit more. But there's so many coaches out there now. There's so many places you can go. So keep educating yourself. Don't be afraid. Go. Even talk to me. Have you ever heard that philosophy, 6 degrees of separation? Takes 6 people. If you want to know President Obama, takes 6 people to get to him eventually. That's how connected we all are. So anyway, so Justin was just saying that he knew, I've got a book here called The E-Myth. This is the most amazing book, especially if you guys want to be entrepreneurs. Has anybody read this? No? It's about this lady that she wanted to be a pie maker. And so it's this whole fable in here, but Michael Gerber wrote this, and he talks about her and what it takes to take, you know, basically if you're gonna run a pie business, you're not really gonna be making pies. You're gonna be cleaning the toilets, hiring people, you're gonna be doing your books, doing the advertising. It's so good, because if you guys wanna be entrepreneurial and do all sorts of things, you kinda need to know all that. I always say go in with your eyes wide open, because once you know things and you know business is going to be hard, then when you get there, it's like, okay, I knew it was going to be hard, so just got to keep going, right? Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Have you guys read that book? Yeah. So Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie that started U.S. Steel, right? And that's way back when. And he said, I'm not going to pay you one dime, but I want you to write what it takes to be successful in business. And I'm not going to pay you anything, but what I will do is give you, I'll give you people to talk to. So we gave him Thomas Edison and Henry Ford and all these famous people.
All the great entrepreneurs back then, it seemed like all the major, the wealthiest people in America in the Industrial Revolution were all interviewed.
Yeah, he interviewed all of them. Rockefeller owned Standard Oil, right? All those guys. So he got all that information, put it together. And that book is so good. It talks about intention. So my sister Lisa that was here talking about her skin script business, it was so funny. This was 15 years ago probably when I read it. And her and I, influenced by our brothers, we love Harley Davidson motorcycles. So we're on the way to Sturgis, South Dakota for the Harley Davidson rallies.
Woo, I can do that.
Yeah. So I said to Lisa, I go, hey, it says in here, all you have to do is set your intentions. What do you want? So Lisa, what do you want? Like, how much money do you want to make in your lifetime? She goes, oh, I don't know, Trish. Why? And I go, because just set your intention. You got to throw something out there. And so she came up with some lame number. And I said, okay, mine's going to be 50 million. And so she's like, okay, 10 million. I'll take 10 million. But she was under protest, not going to participate with me. Anyway, so I was just talking to her probably about a year ago, and she goes, you know, Trish, I had no idea I could ever have a company like this. I had no idea that I would be generating millions of dollars. I had no idea that that was possible. And she goes, I just keep relating back to that day that you said, how much? Just put a number down, just say something, just set a goal, just start somewhere. Put it on a vision board. And anyway, is that amazing? Like, what were the chances that Lisa and I would end up in Phoenix, Arizona, from a little town in South Dakota, and end up here with really multi-million-dollar businesses, graduate from ASU, all those sorts of things. I mean, what are the chances? So for you, what are the chances that you're going to be the next Steve Jobs, right? Well, if you just kind of, you know, take that lazy river and whatever, let's see what happens. I don't know, but if you really set goals and get a vision and start talking about it and you know, getting up the nerve to go talk to people, that's what it takes. And you know, it seems, I don't know. I guess the thing is, it just happened over time for me. And I never thought I would have a business, and I never thought, I mean, I just didn't even dawn on me when I was younger. So if you need the motivation, just get off your ass and go do it, right? I know it's harder than that. But the thing is, remember to have fun. This is me. Some of my employees took my face and superimposed it on Pamela Sue Anderson's body. So funny. It's supposed to be funny. Anyway, so we can use. I think you guys have till 1. So I'm here if you guys want to ask questions, and we could have group discussion or anything you want to talk about. If you want to change subjects.
I have a question. So you talked about having good influences in your life, but on the other side of the spectrum, when do you decide that someone's no longer a good influence, and how do you cut them out?
Well, let me think about that. You know, I guess with friends that maybe one thing that happened to me was, so I did drop out of college right out of high school. When I went back to college, all of a sudden people I was running around with, they were out at the lake, they were out doing fun stuff, and I just said, no, I've gotten serious. I'm going to college, and I was at home on the weekend studying. They kind of distanced themselves because all of a sudden I wasn't, you know, I couldn't go out drinking and partying every night and all that sort of stuff. I think natural attrition starts to happen. And then you'll start to find other friends, and you'll get associated with other people, or you get into like this startup row, and all of a sudden you've got all this interest going somewhere else. That just really kind of goes by the wayside, I think.
So it's all about pursuing your goals.
Yeah, it's all about, pursuing your goal. Even, you know, if you just write a goal down, you would be surprised how the universe brings that to your attention. All of a sudden you start seeing things you didn't see before. So, who else has questions? Do you guys want your own business, or how? I mean, maybe you're thinking, are you more inventors? Are you engineering students? What do you guys think?
So my question is, what are some of the resources you used while you were learning about how to set up your own business? As when you set it up, it was a lot different from what we have now.
Yeah, when I set mine up, I was at that software company, you know, for 10 years. We had venture capital. We brought venture capital in.
What year was that?
Let's see, I was there from 1985 to 1995.
Okay.
So all through that .com phase and all that sort of stuff. So when we would go raise money for the company, what we would do is we had to have a business plan, we had to have budgets, we had to have all those kinds of things. So I was, as the CFO of the company then, I was involved in all that. I would have to get the budgets together, and then we'd have to do what they call the dog and pony show, which is that you go in and present to people, you know, like you said, scared to death to do it, but you got to go stand in front of these people and go, okay, this is what we're doing, here's where we're going, this is what we intend to do, this is the market size. And a lot of times, you know, like in software, you're inventing it as you went. All software was new back then, so there was no roadmap for us. So, you know, I think the big thing is you just need to get around other people that are trying to do the same thing. And that's where you'll learn. That's where you get a lot of your learning from. You know, I remember when I was in public accounting, they would say, you know, if you want to stay in public accounting, one of the things eventually that you have to do is you have to help get revenue in the door for the firm. And I'm like, well, how do you get revenue in the door? And they're like, well, you have to get on board of directors. And I'm like, how do I get on a board of director? I would be pretty worthless on a board of director. So much of life, it just comes with experience, right? Yeah, I didn't have any skills back then. But as you grow and you get to know all this stuff, next thing you know, you do have skills. And then you are very valuable. But it just takes time. And you have to learn from somebody. Yeah, you don't have to read it all. Who else?
I think this would go more for just, well, so you mentioned that you have trouble retaining key employees or like the doctors. Are you, what reasons have you found? Like, I know a lot of us, you know, we're working on working with teammates or people that are, so you got an engineer who's really good at building stuff or coding or something, then you got the other person that's really good at, I don't know, marketing or the business idea, right?
Yeah.
So what are some reasons that you found that they decided that they just don't want to work for you, or why they jumped ship, or sort of that kind of thing?
Well, so that's interesting because I think a lot of my issues came down to culture. And you guys hear culture talked about all the time, like at Google and who else? Like Apple probably has a great culture. Zappos, they're the shoe company that has such a great culture. But it really comes down to, you know, you need to have them know that you care enough about them, that you want them to have a career path with you. But there also has to be discipline, and there has to be a way. So our culture at Derma Health, we've got them memorizing things. Like our philosophy is beauty from the inside out. And we had to memorize it because we almost said it's like a coat of arms, like this is who we are. And people said, oh, this is who we are. It's like being with ASU, right? You guys know who ASU are, you know this campus. Starts to become powerful, and then we put rules in that say, look, we have zero tolerance here for negativity. People that are here want to accomplish something. We have a mission. We want to inspire women to be the best they can be. We want to have beautiful outcomes for people's skin. We want to do those things. And that's all the things as a business owner. I'm like, get your nose to the grindstone. Let's get to work. And they're looking at me going, Trish, what? They didn't like that. They wanted a much bigger why, a much bigger mission for why we were doing what we were doing. Something much bigger than themselves. And when I started to define that for people and they understood that and they understood how much I cared, things really, really have turned around. And people kept talking to me about culture, 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 but nobody could define what culture is. I'm like, I don't know what culture, I mean, I understand it conceptually, but how do I get it? So that's kind of.
So just out of curiosity, how's the competition in the dermatologist industry, I guess?
Well, so the Phoenix market is the most competitive market in the nation for what we do. And I know that because we are the #1 customer for the makers of Botox, and they're a big pharmaceutical. So they feed us that information. It's in their best interest. They want us to be successful, so they tell us that. And so, yeah, competition's crazy because prices keep going down and down and down, and I got to keep finding ways to sell value. Like, really, Botox might be this price over there, but you know, do you want to go there or do you want to come to seasoned doctors that really know what they're doing? So, yeah, very competitive market, just totally different.
I have a question. Once we, let's just say we get into a certain position within inside your company, for instance, and the option comes up for promotion within a certain group of people, what would be some of the factors that would make you, like someone stand out more than the others in terms of leadership goals?
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you know what? I think the biggest thing is that, you know what I was going to say is when you're growing your career, really look for things in your career where it's not just about you. That's what I really learned about my business. It's not just about me. It's about the employees. It's about the patients. It's about everything. So when you focus on other people, like I'm working for this organization, I need to work on the goals. #1, what is my boss's goal? How do I make my boss's job easier? And when you start to focus on that outside thing, outside yourself, you will be shocked at the opportunities that will come your way. And I kind of feel like I did that at the software company I was at. Like, I made it all about the company and about giving the company what it needed, not about Trish growing her career. And when I did that, the board of directors, you know, when it came time that we had to get a replacement CEO, the board of directors looked to me, and I still think that's probably why, is that I was so concerned for the company and doing what was right for the company at all times.
What was that software company?
The software company was NetPro, and we did a lot of Microsoft. I mean, I went all the way back to the Banyan days. I don't know if you guys remember Banyan Networks. And we had Banyan products, Novell products, Microsoft products around Active Directory. And what our products did was essentially make network administrators' lives easy, because we gave them dashboards that they could look at, especially like the Fortune 500. If you have huge locations all over the world, how do you know when a network's down and what's happening and that sort of thing? So that's what we did.
What are ways that you find to add value for your customers by not competing in scale, so indirect value adds? So it's a good question, because I started thinking about that when the competition starts coming in. I'm on the internet going, okay, how do I compete when it's all about the price? So what we determined is how we have to compete. We have to compete with outcomes. And when we say that, we say, okay, let's say somebody comes into our location and they have wrinkles on their face and they want to get rid of the wrinkles. Well, if I do a treatment on them and charge them $3,000 or $4,000 and they walk away and they're not really happy, they are not coming back. My business is a business of repeat business. So my goal is to make sure I get good outcomes. That means I better have the best technology. I better know into the treatment if it's not working very well, what I'm going to do to adjust it. I better have really good photography equipment so that I can really see what got done. And when they get good results, they literally will go somewhere else and say, oh my gosh, I cheated on you and I went somewhere else, but I'm never doing that again, because they don't care about the outcome. All they care is churn and burn, get us through, give me my Botox and get me out, right? Yeah, so, and you have to keep innovating. That's what they say. And when you're in a competitive market, it's constant innovation that all of us as consumers, we want something new and new and new and what's different. And so, yep.
So how long did it take? I mean, how long have you had Derma Health going on for? And then when did you really start seeing it take hold and the value?
Well, so yep, he's asking how long that I had my business and then how long did it take hold. So January is going to be 11 years. And you know what, shockingly, when I opened my business, I had 200 appointments on the books. What happened was I was doing my build out of my building and it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. Well, I was doing advertising, so I had all these people piled up that wanted to come in, and I'm like, no, my building's still not done. So we opened with 200, and when I first started, I thought, if I have to go a year without a salary, I need to be prepared to do that. I was so afraid I couldn't take a salary. Well, as it turned out, we did $100,000 revenue our first month, and we did $1 million in revenue the first year, and we were profitable from day one. And those were all things I just was so scared I didn't think it was possible. So I gave myself a $100,000 salary the first year, thinking, you know, at first I just couldn't take anything, but it all lined up. I prepared for it, and I swear there's a universe up there bigger than me, because all that did, it worked out. I had it planned, but somehow all that just worked out perfectly. So, yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things I'm thinking of with my own business is if I'm building it to sell later, or if I am building it to keep with me as long as I want. And I'm not sure, what is your goal with your business? Do you want to sell it to a larger corporation eventually, or do you want to keep your own it is itself?
So I definitely want to sell at some point, and they call that an exit strategy. What's the founder's exit strategy going to be? And so for me, I look at that all the time. I'm like, okay, I know that for my business, I'm probably going to get somewhere between 4 and 5 times of my net income. Take net income times 4 or 5, and that's probably the value the company's worth. So then I kind of back up and go, okay, my goal's 50 million. When can I sell? How do I have to, I backed into what my number was.
How did you set that goal?
I just made it up in the truck to Sturgis, remember? I did, I just made it up. But it's kind of funny, because I started thinking it was silly at first, and then I just started saying, no, that's my goal. So how am I going to get there? Don't just say it and throw it in a drawer. I started thinking about how I could get it there. So, so I'm always looking for who would be the next business that would be taking this. Where is this industry going? My industry is exploding right now. So pharmaceutical companies are getting into this, and CVS Pharmacy is getting into it, and all sorts of things. So I have to think about that. I have to think about when to sell and who to sell to, and I have to also manage my earnings so that when someone is interested in buying it, it's going to be worth something, because if it's not making any money, that's a common problem with businesses. There's so many small businesses, they are not making any money. And I think everybody thinks, wow, business owners make a fortune. Well, they can, but a lot of businesses never make money. I think 9 out of 10 small businesses fail. And something like 90% never even get over $1 million. Which goes back to my point. Just know that it's hard, and you can do it. I did it. It's just, you just have to work at it, right? And that's why I said I kind of feel like you need to go get some experience before you can really do it.
Mark Zuckerberg didn't do that, or some of these other guys, but I think normally it'd be good to have some business background or some background, so, you know, you were ready. Yeah. Guys want to keep going, or?
That's I guess just, yeah, with that one aspect, I've just recently been really trying to search in of like what it actually takes, what type of drive and what type of, you know, just that decision to immerse yourself in the process. You know, does it, I don't know, for a few people maybe it does just come to them, but how much it actually takes and the decision that you have to make in your mind of, you know, full commitment.
Yeah. I went out and I did a lot of research. I felt such a strong calling to do this on my own, and I don't know if it was because I came out of that software company that was so entrepreneurial. It just was, and the founder was so amazing. She did so much to mentor me. So I don't know if that's where that strong calling came from, but I was just so determined that this is where I was going. You know, I don't know if my sister had that same calling or not, but yeah, and then once I'm there, you know, my dad always taught me, you know, you can't default on loans, you have to pay things back, and so I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, you have to leverage all your personal assets, and it's like, no, come hell or high water, this thing's going, like, we're gonna make this work. So that's kind of how I look at it and run it is, you know, when I get obstacles, I just got to get through them. Go ahead.
So when timing your exit strategy, are you waiting for a certain EBITDA multiple for your industry, or?
You know, I think even though that's sometimes desirable, it's going to determine market forces will have a big impact on that. I mean, right now I'm the big dog in town, so I have the most locations and probably the most customers and that sort of thing. But as people, you know, more and more people, and it gets more competitive and more businesses, I may get to a point where I say, you know, I don't want to keep waiting for multiples. I think now's the time to let somebody bigger take this and leverage what they have. So yeah, I think you have to be opportunistic. When the opportunity's there, you need to seize it too.
Nice. Anyone else?
I love ASU. I'm so involved in it. When I graduated, I never did anything at ASU for, I don't know, 24 years. And then all of a sudden, somebody came into my office and goes, "You're not involved at ASU?" And now I'm in everything under the sun, ASU. ASU is so amazing. Amazing, amazing university.
Did you hear that they're advertising the WP Carey School as having free tuition for masters? Because a lot of the students, I think someone told me, a lot of students actually get free rides anyways, but the way they got money from Carey, you know,
Uh-huh.
they're
There's a lot of scholarships, you mean?
No, the way they advertise was like, if you sign up and actually get admitted to WP Carey,
Mm-hmm.
you get free tuition as an MBA.
Oh, so if you go to work for WP Carey, you get free tuition.
No, just admit as a student.
Oh, just admit. Wow.
It's a new thing they're doing for next coming fall.
Yeah, so you're saying if you admit as a student to WP Carey, then what they're saying is that you'll get free tuition for your MBA. Amazing. WP Carey didn't exist when I went there.
How many people were there?
Like,
How many scholarships there were this year?
I'm not sure,
Thousands though, right?
but they added they just advertised it. They put it on AZ Central. They put it on their ASU, blog website.
Yeah, you know, ASU's, you know, a business too. They have to market themselves and get everything out there and get brand support and all those things. So it's fun to watch it, you know, now that I have a business and see how they do it. But wow, ASU, I was scared to death to go to ASU. There was 44,000 students when I came, and now there's what, 88,000, I think.
How many? There was only one campus.
Yeah, just the Tempe campus, right? Yep.
Yeah, which is still big.
Yeah. ASU's come a long way.
I could imagine going from South Dakota to a big city.
I know. When I first came here, I'm like, people wait in line at the grocery store. There's
Yeah.
lines there.
So I lived in Phoenix and Mesa, and then I moved to Casa Grande,
Uh-huh.
which is like between here and Tucson.
Yeah.
There's no bus systems. There was like no taxi cab services. I'm like, how do people get around if they don't have a car?
Yeah.
Like,
They
like
have to
you
have a
don't.
bike.
You have to have a, you got to bike or horse it, you know?
Right.
And it was a pretty shocking. Right now, I think with the snowbirds, there's 60,000.
Wow.
So it's still pretty small.
Culture shock, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, how awesome that you're entrepreneurial students. I mean, it's just really, really great. It's really great. And thank you guys for coming. I'm just happy that if you guys have any questions or, I don't know, I can leave my business card if you guys have questions or anything. I love to help students any way I can.
Thank you so much, Trey.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah,
That's
well, thank
awesome.
you.
It's- Yeah.
So
no.
happy to be here.
Yeah, no, and there's a few different clubs